Hey, yo, what's going on, you guys? We got episode number 31 of Marvel Yap going on today. We're going to be talking about what we would like to see in the OTA, as well as the current state of the meta after the first week of the season. And we're also going to be going over all of the cards we have scheduled out in April and May of this month. We have some absolute freaking bangers. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, we are joined with the hostess with the mostest, not my dance, or should I say it, not my finally on YouTube dance. How are we doing today, Dance?
I'm doing good, Tuck. Not just... wait, hold up. The correct grammar's doing well. Isn't it correct grammar doing well? Doing well?
I think so, yeah.
I feel like I've said I'm doing good every single time, and I've just realized I'm probably technically saying it wrong.
I wasn't going to correct you.
Oh, God.
I got you.
Did you notice? Wait, you didn't... Did you note? Did you realize? No shot. Did you actually? You realize I was using... I love grammar, Tuck. I'm so annoyed that I was using incorrect grammar. More annoyed that you weren't telling me the right thing. And more annoyed that it's taking me 31 episodes to potentially realize that I've been saying it wrong the whole time. God.
A month's worth of episodes for Dance to finally realize.
I'm no longer doing well. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing okay. We had some procedures done today. Fixed some parts of me. But we don't have to go into very descriptive detail.
That's a very vague thing.
Yes, we won't go into descriptive detail. We don't need to go into descriptive detail. But we're doing better. We're definitely doing better. The snap season's actually been really interesting in a sense, I would say, and I think that's one of our focal points that we're talking about today. You know, we start off every Yap when there's an OTA that week with our wish list for the OTA, so we have that going on, as well as Snap's metagame today. And then we're also going to be going over the cards coming out in April and in May. Yeah. Very excited for that. We're going to be talking about the ones that are in spotlights and then the ones that are also just have been data mined with those seasons. We're not going to go over these spotlight weeks because we're going to start saving those to our later episodes of the month for our season preview. But it should be an overall great Yap today. Yeah,
it's really good. Question, Tuck. And this is this question towards you as well as commenters. Do you think this split between us is a good split?
So when I got this split originally, I had a different null variant set on this split. And I was like, why would I want to put this Wakandan on null? And then eventually I landed on this card itself, the Kim Jacinto null, which already has a lot of purple and kind of green, blue aspects to it. And I think it makes those actually pop even more on the card and thoroughly enjoy this more, and seeing even the tech flare come off still looks like energy radiating off of null. Maybe it's his aura. And I think I genuinely like this split more. I still don't know what is deemed a god split with the character mastery.
I think it's weird. I think character masteries have made it so technically the old stuff is always god split, I think.
Yeah.
But it's also put a question mark is this actually a god split here? It's good, but is it a god split, or is it even good, right? Because I have some splits that I'm like, I think this is really good. And then I was talking about chat and they're like, what do you mean you're coping? This is garbage. And I think I've even shown you my Sandman I got. And I like it. And I think it's a god split. And then people are like, no, it sucks. And I'm like, I don't know. So let us know if this is a good split, or if y'all have any, new weird mastery splits that are potentially god splits for yourselves, because I think that's just something we haven't really covered, and I don't know there's no correct way to cover that. I don't think.
No, and art is subjective too. So a good split to you may not be a good split to other, but even though art may be subjective, there's also, if more people are agreeing with you, that it probably is, opposed to isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? It's so weird. I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. And that's an interesting part of the new changes, I guess, to Snap. But speaking of changes to Snap, Tuck, we do have another OTA this week, and I was actually kind of surprised when I realized that. I feel like we just got off of an OTA because of the new season kind of felt like an OTA this time because of the banish stuff and just how much Agamotto and Isan have affected the meta in general. And so I kind of felt like, okay, cool, we're going to react to an OTA this week. And I'm realizing no, we're actually we have to think about what's going to change next. And that's a weird thing to me personally already.
Yeah, I am normally used to, with the new season, us having an OTA that week too. Like I feel like that also is something we've had a little bit more recently, because we've had more like 5-week seasons than just 4-week seasons. But February, of course, is a 4-week month, so I think that kind of affected it. And then we had the patch, like the patch happening on new season day. I'm normally used to, but I'm normally used to like cards having new effects, which they did. I mean, there were changes in the patch to, you know, like Yondu and like locations and stuff, but it still was a little funky. But with that in mind, the meta is interesting right now, Dance, and I think you have some pretty interesting OTA ideas. I have a hot take, but if you want to lead us
hot
off
take as well, but I think it might be in reaction to you, but we'll talk about that. I mean, I'm honestly pretty happy with the meta in general. I don't have many issues with it, but if we're going to talk about things that I do think I would like to potentially see getting changed, I want to talk about White Widow, right, in terms of the OTA. And I think that whenever people talk about Marvel Snap's OTAs, they're like, they don't nerf cards into the ground. They try to make it so cards stay playable. And I think White Widow is the exception to that rule. I think she's the card that's been like, no, this card was nerfed into the ground when the Widow's Kiss changed to be, what is it? I think it's just destroy this when your side is full, I believe is the phrase on it. And I want that to be worded akin to the Ice Cube. I just want it to change to start of turn, and that's it.
I'd be here for that. This honestly, I would have been even crazier than you here and say we could revert White Widow back to what she originally was.
I don't think you can do that. Yeah.
With the way the meta is right now, because you have certain spells and stuff that can kind of change that and add different dynamics to it. But I wouldn't be opposed if it's start of turn. I think that's better, and I think that was a really good addition that Luna added to the game. So I'm here for that.
Yeah, again, I don't think it should return personally to the way that it was before, because I think that was just too oppressive. However, I do think that I want this card to be, I don't want it to be prevalent. I don't want it to be the best 2-drop in the game, because that's what it was. But I also don't want it to be, it's a weird spot. But I think if you just put the start of turn thing on it, it actually puts a little bit of interesting counter thing against the spells, which I kind of liked. Because then you can't just fill the location with spells and get rid of it. No, you have to fill that location with real cards, and then at the start of the turn, it'll go away.
Yeah, no, I like that. I'm here for it. With that kind of aspect in mind, I was thinking that you could put Sentry back to a 410 and the Void to a 410, because I think Sentry should be Shang-Chiable. I do think I'm seeing a lot more Clog and stuff, and him being at 9 power just doesn't sit right with me, in the sense where I think there needs to be another potential downside with Sentry, and just the aspect of him being able to just be popped out of the game.
I mean, I'm down. Okay, I don't want both of these changes to happen, Tuck. I don't want them to buff White Widow and the Sentry. If they buff one of these two, I'll be okay. But if they do both, I know we're not really dealing with a Clog-centric meta.
We were getting towards it, though.
We're getting towards, if we get towards it too much, Tuck, I'm not going to be happy anymore. And I'm already annoyed at Hela, and don't have anything there, but I'm going to be honest, I just don't like Hela, but that's me just pointing something out. And if they buff both of those, I feel like it's just asking too much. Even though Annihilus got buffed literally in the last OTA, still not really seeing a whole lot. It's kind of there, but it's not great. So again, I don't mind one of these two. Both, I can't support that. I'm sorry.
Okay, I think, yeah, choose one or the other. I think if White Widow gets, reverted, I think that's slightly more oppressive than Sentry. But
yes, a full reversion, I would agree.
Yeah. Even the White Widow, you could play kind of like end of game sort of thing. If it's at the beginning of next turn, it gets destroyed.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I don't mind it, but
okay. Then
I'm fine with. I'm either way.
What you got next though, Dance? What's your next card?
This one is one that we kind of saw a bit ago, and I don't mind it. It was in the Portuguese version, right, of Marvel Snap. There was a leak or a version of Celine that existed out there where she got changed to a 1/0 steal 2 from the lowest power card in each player's hand, and I think that's cool. However, I don't think that she could be a 1/0 there, because she just turned into a 1/4. However, if you make her a 1/-1, akin to her original stats in the game, when she first came out, she was actually a 1/1. If you make her a 1/1, steal 2 from the lowest power card in each player's hand, I think that she could exist there, and that's what I would recommend.
I'd be down for a 1/1. There's also like you throw her down on the board in an area where like the honor reveal doesn't happen, and you have another potential clog card. You know, that sounds pretty good. I know Philip would love that. So I'd be down for a Celine change. I think this card, I mean, for her still to be in Series 4 after another...
Wait, no, didn't she get changed?
Is she changed?
I think she's Series 3
now.
now.
She is Series 3. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
See, I was already thinking she still hasn't been changed yet, so rightfully it's Series 3.
And they even said, right, that second editor said that just because a card gets dropped does not mean that it won't get, like, buffed or whatever anymore. So I do think that you make her a 1/1 steal, too. It's even an interesting bounce card.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It's, again, it kind of works similarly to Silver Sable, but it's definitely different because you are afflicting both people with a lot, and I don't know. I like that stuff.
I'd be down for that. It definitely would get a little oppressive too, but that's okay. You know what's not oppressive though? The Thing. You know, I love The Thing. I've been playing him a lot in Marvel Rivals. It's my guy. But you know what? Because, you know, power creep is a thing, you know, why not make him a 4/7? 4/7, and then, you know what, add a little extra spice to him. What if you change him back to his original high evo ability?
I mean, the original high evo ability, I'm definitely here for it. No matter what. I think that's just something that should have occurred by now. However, I don't know if they would ever do a 4/7 for him, and I'm so annoyed with that. But for the exact same logic that Cyclops hasn't gotten something.
But again, Cyclops hasn't his ability really changed like at all, whereas The Thing they nerfed. Whereas Cyclops...
Well, no. I'm saying in terms of like the base card, not even talking high evolutionary stuff.
I mean, yeah, but like I'm talking about high evolutionary stuff. They haven't really touched Cyclops, but they touched The Thing, and Cyclops is even more oppressive.
The base card. I was trying to say like both things.
Yeah, but like Cyclops base card doesn't need anything.
No, what is it? I don't know. 3/5s being a standard nowadays, I feel like Cyclops easily should get buffs. Sorry, with tangent difference stuff, but actually focusing on Thing. I think you're correct entirely that The Thing and the ability both could get buffed because again, we've had like the fact that we have such insane stuff in terms of all the other cards that currently exist in Marvel Snap and just where we were, the power scaling that we have. I just feel like this makes too much sense, and I see legitimately no issue with it whatsoever.
Even if you just hit a card 3 times instead of 2 times. 2 different cards.
Sure. I support you entirely.
Okay. But next, go into your final card over here.
Yeah. My final card is Devil Dinosaur. Because
Devil.
Devil Dino's a 5/3, and Victoria Hand came and went, didn't do anything. We even have, I think, Kahori coming out. We'll talk about her later. She's going to be in the game, and honestly, I don't think you're using her or Devil Dino. I don't know. We'll talk about that, but like, it's just not a real card. I want this to go to, and I think it was this for a while ago, but I think it was a 4/0 at one point, I want to say. And I honestly just think that's where the card should go back to. And I think I get it. Maybe it was oppressive then, but the meta power creep, whatever you're going to call it, it's not the same Marvel Snap it was back then.
4/0 plus 2?
4/0 plus 2, 100%. I don't see, I don't know, the card's just not busted. It's not good. Ronin's even better because it messes with your opponent. And then you have these cards that you put in your hand, and then you're not supposed to do anything with them. And it kind of just forces you to put your power down, and it goes into a conversation I've had before where we talked about how like 5 costs are weird. And I think this just makes sense as a 4 cost, much more so. I'm not saying going all the way to 3, right? At one point it was a 3. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you put it as a 4 and you call it there.
I don't hate it at a 4 cost too, especially when you have like Gorgon and stuff running rampant right now. I think it'd be valid. And yeah, I mean, Ronin would inevitably be bigger than Devil Dino, but like, I don't hate it. I could see the reasoning behind it. I would love Devil Dino to be back. Devil Dino's been one of my like favorite cards when I first played Snap. I used to play Dino Hawk, so like I feel like
so many people love Dino. and you just can't play him anymore, which sucks. And again, it goes into my logic as well. Like, buff these early series cards, and I'm mentioning kind of ongoing ones because of Enchantress getting buffed.
Yes.
So it works.
No,
that's my logic.
I'm down for the Devil Dino. I have one last change. Of course, we have the season pass card, which you guys know is busted overall. This card overall is pretty busted. But I think the Winds of Watum should go from -5 to -3. That's my change.
Interesting. I disagree.
Why?
I don't think Agamotto's busted, bro.
Oh, you don't think
I don't
Agamotto's
think so.
busted? Really?
Nope. I honestly don't think Agamotto is busted. Straight up, I just don't. And I think I might be in the minority here, but I think it's a good card. I just don't think it's actually kind of busted. Like, Agamotto post Infinite, it actually has a it has a negative win rate, negative cube rate. It's a very popular card because it's a new season pass card, and it adds a bunch of new things to it, and that's really cool. But also, the Winds of Watum just gets, unless Luke Cage gets changed, Tuck, Winds of Watum just moves an enemy card to the right. And you just put Luke Cage in your deck.
What
and
is
then
Luke Cage's
done.
play rate right now?
Luke Cage's play rate, I'm not going to be, honestly, as certain on that. It is 8% of the meta, same tier as Agamotto. Fun fact, though, he does have a better win rate and cube rate than Agamotto.
Okay, well, that doesn't surprise
Again, according
me.
to public stats. I will say, here's the different thing, though, I will say about this, is I think that the public stats, and I've been realizing this more and more lately, I'm going to argue against myself here. Public stats should not have as much weight held to them, in my personal opinion, because they are inherently weighted towards people who are very sweaty at this game. Because if you are sweaty in this game, you're willing to potentially get more information, trying to play the best meta decks, figuring out these best whatever things, like whatever the highest tier things are, all that stuff. And you're only going out the information of the other people who have that same stuff. Second Dinner actually has the other information that tells us whether or not these cards, or like they have the information in the back line, like, hey, this card's actually being played this much in all games, or this much in all games. And the sweatier you get this game, the more accurate I would say that this becomes, which is why I'm still going with that, the infinite percentages there. Because also you remove bots from that equation once you get to infinite. Anyway, that's a different side point entirely. Sorry.
I like
but
to
I will
counter argue that just because counter card exists does not negate how amazing this card is. And how this also spells work twice now on reveal locations, which should not happen. Spells are not supposed to work with that on locations. So that thus also makes Agamotto more bested because of that bug in the game.
I don't think it's a bug, fun fact.
It's supposed to not work. They've said when the card came out that spells are not supposed to work like that on locations.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I didn't know that. Because there was a couple things we had also said about spells that were weird, right? I think there was a different thing where you can actually technically destroy the spell.
Yeah.
And with like Nico's destroy draw 2 mode. Anyway, yes, I do know that it doesn't, just because counter card exists does not mean card is broken or not busted or whatever. However, I don't think that Wins is truly that busted. I think it's good, but also I don't think Agamotto's good enough to counter the whole thing. If we're gonna talk about season pass cards being busted, I'm still shocked that we haven't seen a nerf to Sam Wilson.
Oh man.
Hey, you know what, Tuck? It's okay if we don't agree.
Yeah,
it's
funny.
I
don't think Sam Wilson's that busted compared to Agamotto.
You know what? That's fair. I don't know. I don't think Agamotto's that bad. I think he's a good card. But to be fair, I've been trying to play some really jank decks with him. I tried this one Black Knight deck I saw from my favorite YouTuber. And it was, oh God, I couldn't do anything with that.
Oh, well, you must not have been the person who hit rank 1 with it, so that's okay.
Did you hit rank 1 with it?
No, someone hit rank 1 with Black Knight Agamotto, so.
No shot, actually?
Yep. The person who hit rank 1 at season reset, and they swapped Infinite for Isan.
So what we're saying is nerf Black Knight.
No, that's not what we're saying. Right now the best decks are like Agamotto and good cards like Gwenpool and stuff, because Gwenpool doesn't target any of the spells and targets just the characters in hand. And Agamotto Scream, there's just like Agamotto is like in all of the top cards. in top decks right now.
Other than, unfortunately, Hela.
Other than, unfortunately, Hela, which Hela, of course, can beat Agamotto and stuff, especially if you lose priority. So,
yeah, God, I hate Hela so much. Anyway, hey, I don't. What is it? I understand why you feel. I'm interested in what actually happens in this OTA coming up, but I mean, we're hinting at it, right, Tuck? We're hinting at the metagame itself. We probably should actually go into this subject and talk about what the metagame in Marvel Snap actually looks like.
yeah, I just think it's really, really crazy that there's a 2 -5 that's better than a Green Goblin, because even if you filled the board, the spell still happens. But I digress.
I'll let your point stand. We'll see what happens.
But this right now is the freaking state of the meta post Infinite when it comes to just decks. And I think we can see a trend between the top 2 decks, which, by the way, I do think Adam Warlock and Hela is a bit of copium. I like the Thaddeus Ross more than Adam Warlock and Hela. But I mean, it has a higher win rate with Adam Warlock than Thaddeus, but Thaddeus does have a better cube rate. It's just weird.
So I will say I actually really liked the logic of Adam Warlock in there, just simply due to the fact that you can go Adam Warlock and then play Swordmaster the following turn. That's 8 power at a location, most likely, because you're not winning that first one. And I think that's what can really make that deck stand out. And it's very difficult. It forces your opponent to, to actually have to play against you early game, rather than letting you, as a Hela gamer, or seeing a Hela gamer against you, just being like, okay, I just have to hope to counter this final turn. You actually have to deal with them throughout the game, and it becomes really annoying, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I think Adam Warlock also is if you don't have Thaddeus Ross, you play Adam Warlock in it. Whereas, like, Thaddeus Ross does give you the targeted draw. Both of them are deck thinners, which is why people are using them both, and it makes a lot of sense. In this sense, too, with Adam Warlock, it could potentially give you some of your more discard enablers as well, like you're talking about, opposed to just the targeted 10 or more powered cards, which if you've already drawn your 10 or more powered cards with Thaddeus, like, there's no point to actually play Thaddeus besides just to have another card on the board, whereas Adam Warlock still gives you a lot of value if you've drawn already your bigger cards. So, like, I can totally see the reasoning between both.
Yeah, and also I'll say part of the reason why I like that is because you can't draw Hela with Thaddeus.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yes, even though you do deck thinning, the fact that you can draw Hela is very important there, as Tucker goes evil mode, apparently.
Yep.
But also the, But also Blink. If you're blinking away a card, you can't. If you've drawn all your big cards, you kind of don't like what you have left, or maybe it's good there because it leaves Hela in your deck.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer, but I feel, in my eyes, I think I like the Adam Warlock version better, in akin to I don't like either version. But if I had, if you're holding me to choose one here, I do probably like that better. But still. Was it the other list that we do see actually where are these decks? What's this sample size, Tuck? Just so I have
we are right now last 7 days post Infinite.
Okay, got it. Yeah. I mean, this just all tracks this control pile, I will say. I don't even feel like it's a control pile. It's just like, feels like you just get stats.
No, I think the control aspect is just having Juggernaut and like Shang-Chi, Rocket, and Groot. I think those are what are considered like control cards, which is why Untapped gives it this label. Like, this isn't what people are calling this list. It's just literally Agamotto, good pile of stuff, where King Eitri is getting value.
Yeah, I will say, if you're playing Agamotto, I 100% think King Eitri, if you're not putting King Eitri in the deck, and assuming you have it, I think if you're not putting King Eitri in the deck, you've built your deck wrong by at least one card.
You think he's a necessity in Agamotto?
100%, because the what is it? I'm not going to say the spells are busted, but like you're talking about, Tuck, getting those spells, the wins, the extra 4 energy for the following turn, or even just consistently getting Agamotto in your hand or duplicating that. That's also important, and especially with the images, having him give you a card, hopefully images, then leaving that location, you just turn him into whatever you need later on. Part of what also Sam Wilson is doing in that deck. Because if you're shield on the final turn or so in the game, you just kind of turn the shield into whatever other better card you have there.
Yeah, just having that extra card on the board. And you can tuck your Quinjet or your King Eitri behind the shield too to dodge Red Guardian as well.
Yeah.
Which is really solid. And I think something that's really good, I don't know if they'll tweak, because they did tweak this with Thanos, whereas the stones didn't work with Quinjet anymore. But I think it's different because it is minimum 1, so it's not like Quinjet is working with just was it augmentation? The one where you draw Agamotto?
Temporal manipulation.
Temporal manipulation.
Which, by the way, is the only one that doesn't have any alliteration, which is a different conversation. I'm just annoyed by that. But what is it? Yeah, because I feel that was made so it didn't work. But then there was that one. There was the series 3. There was the one time where the Mind Stone cost 2.
Yes.
And then it was able to work then. So it was like it's very specifically meant to be for this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So it is. Yeah. I think in general these are a lot of just straight up just good cards, like are being said, and we see some ongoing stuff as well.
And people just tanking Agamotto's win rate as well, it looks like.
It's very nice of them just to tank Agamotto's win rate purposefully. Just to, is this just have to be like? Is this just booster farming? Whatever. I don't know.
Yes, this is literally a booster farming deck post Infinite, but we do have Doom 2099 still being very prevalent right now.
It's a lot less.
Yes,
I will say, and I'm actually very happy with the nerf. Like I didn't like nerf first stock, and I thought it was still not enough. But it's like it's calmed that deck down. I feel like a good chunk, and it makes me feel a lot better about it.
So the deck is calmed down, quote unquote, right now because there is a bigger bad on the table, and that is Hela. And we are way more annoyed with Hela right now, and it is overshadowing still what Doom 2099 does. And that's what it is. You're seeing way more Hela, because if you look at the play rate, this of course is post Infinite stats, and like Dan said, it's only on Untapped. There's less than 600 games on this, which still has a very similar win rate to Hela, but it loses to Hela, which also has 2,400 games post Infinite, almost a combined together 57% win rate. And then plus 0.4 cubes, whereas this is plus 0.19. It's because it doesn't scale as high vertically as the Hela lottery does.
And that's part of the value that Adam Warlock and Ross give that deck.
Yes.
To make it so that lottery is no longer a lottery. It's so much more guaranteed.
Yes. The consistency there. And I think even with it, people are like, it's the Scar change. It's the Scar change, which I do think the Scar change does attribute it to be another targeted discard. It is also the Adam Warlock change, which I'm leaning way less off the Cope train now, as like I was saying earlier, just because like a great argument you brought up too was the Swordmaster change. And like even discard itself is still in a solid spot, as you see probably a little bit lower on here.
Yeah, bullseye. And here's the thing. Also, part of the stuff is that it's in the last 7 days, so there's nothing in regards to there's a little bit of like old season versus new season conversation there, but still, there's a lot of very good stuff still inside of that list. And I do think that like you said, Swordmaster also being able to hit Scar now is such a big change that I feel like it just feels so I don't like that it feels so good, but it does feel pretty dang good, and that's But otherwise, I feel like the meta we can see that if you just scroll back up, the biggest part of the meta it does feel like is straight up, you just get Hela.
Yep,
and that's the best stuff in the meta, and there's a big jump, nearly double from Hela to going to the next deck. My question then becomes, okay, well if it's that good right now, at least according to public stats, right? How good is it actually again in their backline? And then if it is, again, imagining it's really good still there, what's the correct, how do they fix, how is that getting fixed? Is it enough even that they need to fix it? Because typically I feel like the OTAs are typically locked in like a week in advance. And I think Scar's been good for that full week inside of Hela. However, like, what's the answer to fixing it? Is it hitting Hela and nerfing her here? Is it? I don't know. There's just so many different questions that I feel like, yes, I might want Hela to get changed, and it really makes me love the fact that we just put our wish list out there. We're not going to say that we're better at second dinner better at OTAs than Second Dinner is, because what are you supposed to do to this list? I don't know the correct answer.
Is there a world where people need to start playing more Destroy just to mitigate death from getting discarded, so Hela is more likely to get discarded? That's copium, totally copium. But I don't know. I think it's just because, like you said, there's that consistency there now. Which this list is also really interesting. The Slam list is really interesting with all the ongoing stuff still happening. But you have also seen an influx of Gorgon right now.
Yeah, Gorgon's also become like an actual, because people were so, again, because Isan, they've introduced, again, created cards, right? As a thing. But Isan now caring about those, as well as Agamotto, kind of makes it feel like Gorgon's been an actual just tech card you're running, which is interesting to see. I didn't think that it would exist in that way when I first talked about him and when we first saw him. But he's legitimately just a tech card, which I kind of think is a fun piece to mess with. I'm just personally annoyed, Tuck, that my deck with Uatu, Agatha, Thanos, Agamotto, Erishim, Quicksilver, Sam Wilson, and every other card with the start of game animation doesn't actually become like a meta deck.
Yeah, you should be very sad about that, because it totally should. But like, I also, so we've had these other card generator cards and stuff added. I do think it is interesting to look at Isan, which like his win rate is not great at 45% and minus 0.35 cubes. But like, what I have liked about Isan is that people aren't necessarily just playing him in Erishim. And I think that he does get some value elsewhere. Of course, from the looks of it, he's not winning a lot of games necessarily elsewhere but Erishim, which I do think that also does just equate that, yeah, you could go, very high in power in one lane because Isan draws the cards there, but Hela just, random RNG into the other lanes. Yeah. But it is cool to see, like, some creative and funky lists people were messing around with. Like, we were messing around with Black Knight, and, like, with Black Knight and stuff, you were able to get the value of potentially drawing a shard down into his lane, or not shard, I say it shard every single time. The Ebony Blade, because I've been seeing... Oh. Yeah, no, the spells, too. Spells drawn into Isan's lane, but, like, I saw so much Dawkin because Black Knight was just on the shelf for so long. But, like, even seeing some, like, Wiccan synergies, Victoria Hand stuff, like, it is really cool to see, like, a card generation kind of meta, I'd say, at the side, too, because there's just so much Hela right now. Yeah. Which I hope, like, I think Gorgon's play rate, if they tweak Hela, will go up even more. Just because people will start trying to just do more stuff with Agamotto, and his play rate and his win rate will go up because it's less power he has to deal with, because him himself, of course, there is images that does give extra power to certain lanes. But like Bolt's giving you extra energy, you have to be able to maximize that energy. I still think Winds is insane because you can get value no matter what lane you can play it on. But if you're playing into Hela, oh no, my Adam Warlock lost 5 power. Well, here's an infinite on Adam Warlock's lane, whatever.
I mean, I feel like that also goes into the fact why, like, last week I even said Images was my potential for, like, the best spell, potentially. I think I said that. But because it's just, like we've seen with the, with King Eitri, and then, like I mentioned, the Shield earlier, that's just, you make some garbage cards turn into something amazing.
Yes. And
that's part of the reason why I think, like, Clog is, like, just worse now, because Images exists. But I think... Yeah, I don't know. It's been really cool to see. Again, I don't know if it's great, but it's cool to see just that stuff changing. It's weird, though, that, like, I don't know. It feels like we've talked about all these different card slots so many times, and it just feels like the 3-cost card slots, like, it's funny looking at some of these decks being like, you're putting, it's like the same 3 cards. It feels like on a lot of these 3 costs. And I don't know. I know people we're gonna talk about, we'll talk about, Starbrand in a second being another 3 cost that's gonna be coming out. I don't, like, what are 3 costs doing? Like, what's the role of Surfer and such now, though?
So like I was talking to Dance about this like before we started the Yap, and I'm trying to see if I can find like the right tab here for us to truly talk about this. But like when it comes down to a lot of these 3-cost cards, which we honestly on this scene is a great way to actually look at it. 3-cost, especially either in Surfer or just in the meta dynamic overall, are really dependent on what your pocket meta is. So I'm kind of surprised we're not necessarily seeing a lot more Cosmo right now to offset what's going on with Hela. I'm kind of surprised, like, we're still having some Red Guardian, and, like, you look at the stuff here, we still have Polaris being really popular. Lady Sif is really popular just because of Hela, because Lady Sif was cut from discard until Hela got buffed. And Scar got changed. So when I was thinking about it, I was like, are we running more Killmonger right now? There's still Zoo going on. Zoo's still doing well, but since there's less Killmonger because people are trying to slam more power than Hela, you're able to kind of just transcend that aspect of the game. And so like it's just really interesting to look at the dynamics of the 3-cost slot, which is the most abundant card slot in the game. And they're like all tech cards, whether it's a Mobius to be able to discount or stop the discounting that you're seeing a lot going on as well. Or even if it is the Red Guardian for that targeted removing of abilities. Like Red Guardian's in B tier right now. Red Guardian was in A tier like the past month and a half. But then since Hela got popular in the meta, there really wasn't honestly too much to really offset in that. I mean, yes, you could, turn off your Adam Warlock. You can turn off the the Thunderbolt Ross, and then like you have Surtur now. Like, is Surtur still gonna be? Is his play rate gonna go up this next week because of Starbrand, or is Starbrand gonna take that Surtur spot? Like, it's just really interesting to see week to week where 3-costs are, and like it's looking more and more like cheap cards are starting to come back again, and then. Like, if it's Hela, you just have your discard enablers and boom, Hela at the end of the game. So, like, it's just really interesting to look at the dynamics.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to mess with and try to talk about, but it's also, I will say one of my favorite points of Marvel Snap is the fact that, like, it changes so much week per week per week because of the new cards that are getting added, because of every other week we're getting OTAs, and then sometimes even patches will bring functionality changes. Like, all this different stuff is getting changed week to week. It makes the meta feel very fresh, makes these questions feel very active and very like in the moment, because there are so many of these 3-costs that are good cards, but maybe you're not seeing them for a week or two, and it just changes week per week per week. And I think that's a really cool bit to mess with. Do you think, I know we have Starbrand stuff. Do you think Starbrand is a Surfer card?
I think Starbrand is going to fit in Surfer decks, but I don't necessarily know if it's going to be a focal point in Surfer unless the play rate of Shang-Chi really does go down.
Yeah. Ooh, I just thought, like, can you do... I don't think either of us have this, but like a Sauron Surfer?
So I thought about potentially doing a Sauron Surfer. I, of course, didn't build it, but I think there's certain things you could do. You can't do the Sarah, so like you have to do more of like a Luna Snow kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
which,
like,
by the way, Luna Snow, I'll say, just at 1 point of power, she's become so much more relevant. And it's kind of insane how much that 1 point of power did. And it really goes into the fact that, like, hey, listen, card may not be great on pawn first release. Second dinner, if it's not good, they'll take a second, they'll make it good. Just understand it's gonna be the same ability, most likely. Just the actual the text, the power of the card might change.
3/6 is pretty good.
Yeah. No, 3/6 is definitely pretty good. And it's like, is it good? I don't know. The fact that it exists differently than Wave is very fun. But yeah, sorry, it's a different conversation. I just thought it was.
But I do, so like, I wish that Spider-Man still was a 3-cost, because I would have done some Spider-Man Surfer stuff like that with
so annoyed
Uncle
that
Ben.
Spider-Man Surfer, Uncle Ben, like, yes, as someone who really enjoys Uncle Ben, God, I wish he was a 3-cost. I get why he's not, but I wish he was.
But I know people will try Starbrand in Surfer. Plus, like, someone was talking about it actually in the comments of Buy or Bust. If you do Starbrand Surfer, right, you can use Galacta and get a potentially huge Shaw to start the game, and then you have Starbrand, and then you have Surtur, and then you have not Surtur. You do Surtur, and then you also have Starbrand, and then you just have potentially, if you're playing Magic and stuff too, you can get your Sebastian Shaw to 10 power. You can get your Starbrand already at 10 power. Your Surtur will get to 10 power, and then you can just play Scar for one power. So like, I think it would be fun to see what people build. It's not impossible. I definitely think it's something you could do. It's maybe not the Sauron version of Surtur, but you potentially could do that as well. But it's just you're buffing all of your cards in order to just get Scar value. So you like a Scar Surfer, which could be fun to build.
And you go for and then it's like you try to do Festus potentially with it.
Yep.
Which for what's worth, I've seen I say Festus because it's all the Eternals are meant to be based off of like ancient Greek or other things for like Gilgamesh, whatever. And so Festus is meant to be Hephaestus. So it's like, I'd say Festus, even though it's like Fastos. I don't care. I say Festus. Anyway, I think there's, and like, we even have her on screen actually, literally right next to me. If you're watching Sage.
Right? Sage like also could be big.
You just do like a 3. It could be even a brand new deck, like a 3-cost big card done.
Yeah. What if, honestly, we should build something like that on, for Tuesday. Do we want to build it right now?
I'm down. We can do it real quick. I mean, it's just like, let's see. So it would be you got Sage here. You're gonna go for your, it's Sage, Surtur, Starbrand, Shaw. I do think Festus.
Yes, I do as well. And I think you're able to use, in this sense too, guys, if you do pull and get all 3 cards, you could maybe use this list. Just,
Festus is inside of the Spotlight cache with him as well. I do that. Yep, that was the plan, Tuck. That was the plan. It's not going to show up because you have to do it release. Anyway.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so you go with those as well. It's like Luna, Snow as well, just to make sure you can ramp. And Surfer's kind of just like an extra card you have there, I guess, at this point.
I'm going to include 0 in this.
0. Okay, I don't mind it. Yeah, you would go 0 as well. I think. Oh, Sauron. Do you want a different way to get power down?
You have Galacta.
Is it ever Rocket and Groot and Hope as the last 2? Oh no, Gladiator.
Wow, this is going to be a little wild. Okay, so this is 3 heavy.
I don't even know if... I want to say this. No idea if this is actually a good deck. We're not saying it's amazing, but definitely interesting.
I would go Magic in here to have an extra turn.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Do you need tech? Honestly, Surfer might be the worst card here, but I still like it.
Yeah, well, if we do... Surfer is to kind of help with Galacta.
Surfer works.
Stuff.
Wait, hold up. We don't have Shaw in here.
Let's take out Gladiator for Shaw.
Yeah. Actually, I think Sage should leave. I think it's Sage that leaves here.
A Forge?
A Forge isn't bad. Yeah, it could just be Forge here.
And then Surtur would work with... Works with Starbrand. It works with Shaw.
Let's put... was it? Because, again, with Sauron, do you want... I feel like we maybe want Ebony Maw in here.
Yeah, because we don't have Killmonger.
Yeah.
What if we actually don't do Magic?
I think it's tossing Magic, yeah.
And we do Maw.
And then... Got your Festus, Forge, 0. You have 0 and Sauron to combo with Ma and Shaw. Or sorry, Ma and Starbrand. Festus, extra value. Luna Snow. And then honestly, it could even be a thing where like you Surfer earlier potentially.
Yep.
And then you can get your Scar down potentially for 3 power even.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, right? If you forge into Shaw, you play Galacta. Galacta into Maw, and then Starbrand potentially.
Is it Fest? Oh, there's just a lot of different ramping options. I don't know. This is fun. I'm not. What is it? There's all these different. Do you want to save real quick what Starbrand does? We should probably talk about him. I think.
Yeah, let's save this deck that we built together, and then we'll look at the other ones that we've also built before this that we think might be a little bit more practical.
For what it's worth, every single one of these, if you the ones that we built together and this deck as well, they're all going to be down in the description of the video as per usual. If you are watching on Tucker's YouTube channel, which by the way, if you aren't, you should be subbed. What are you doing? You go sub to Tuck right now. You're on the video. Make sure you're doing it. Puts out great content, buy or bust, Marvel Yap, all this great content. Just straight up in general. Make sure you're subbed over here. He also does Twitch, in which he's going to be streaming Marvel Snap as well as streaming Marvel Rivals. He's on the TikToks. He's on the Twitters. He's never going to be on Blue Sky, but I'll keep coping and pretending like he will be. But make sure you're following him in all those places. Doing the plug a little bit early because you didn't let me do it last week. Anyway, Starbrand's a really cool card. 310. Ongoing, your opponent has +3 power at each other location.
Yeah, he's a big beefcake. That you get to play without having to ramp him out with Zabu. You can just play him on curve and give your opponents +3 power. But I think like one of the main things you're gonna see like with this card is like you're gonna see him more into like the Sauron Zero stuff. So more often than not, you probably won't get that +3 power. But he's just a big dumb idiot, big boring card. If you guys do pull for this card, pull for it if you do enjoy playing more of the big dumb idiot style of lists. Or if you are missing Scar, I think it's a good week to open to get Scar. Fastos has more value too because it also does work with Agamotto's spells, making them decrease in cost because it's a targeted ability there opposed to just giving them power. But I think overall, if it's not your playstyle, I would hold, especially for next week. But this card is going to be pretty solid overall. We're going to go to the decks we actually built before we actually started recording today, which Dance actually built Not My Idiots. And how do you feel about this list?
I think that there's 2 different places that people are just going to go instinctively with Starbrand because, again, Marvel Snap is legitimately, fun fact, I don't think it creates a lot of deck creativity, so stuff like what we just did right there with Surfer is interesting, and I don't think people do that very often. But I think this is going to be one of the very 2 places that people immediately go with the deck, where you go with this War Machine style, where you're just trying to put these big cards down the board, and you're going to be okay with Enchantressing your Starbrand, your Ebony Maw, your like these cards that you really don't want to be existing for long anyway as this big problem. And I think there's a lot of really fun stuff you could be doing here. I think one thing I could be doing incorrectly is Goose, and you might want to sub that honestly for a Legion, because Legion with War Machine can just win you games, just those 2 together. I don't know what the correct answer is going to be there, but I think a version of this list will be popular. Whether or not it's the best version is a different conversation, but I do like it.
I think Legion or even Cosmo. Cosmo to protect your potential big cards also could be.
Yeah, I can see either one of those 2.
Yeah, it just depends on your pocket meta. But like Goose is solid in the sense that it does work with War Machine. It allows you to play your big cards into that where your opponent may not be able to. So I like that aspect. And it's different probably than what you're going to see a lot of people doing. And you're probably going to see just a lot of people playing Sauron because it's a 310 ongoing. So like you remove that ability with Sauron and you're able to just kind of run rampant. We have this list over here that I made with, actually, we changed it a little bit from the Buyer Bust video with Dance's help here. We do have Sam Wilson, so you always have an enabler for Cole Obsidian here. Yes, Sauron also does remove the ongoing ability from Sam Wilson, so you're not able to move the shield. So keep that in mind if you're trying to run into aspects like that. But you also... If you
place, sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you play Sam on turn 2 and then Sauron turn 3, you still get it. It's just very specifically if you can't play Sam after Sauron.
Yes, exactly. But you're using Agamotto in this list as well, because if you also do negate Sam's ability, that's a shield on the board that you can just change and do a bigger card with images. And you have Bolt's ball sack to be able to also add energy to be able to play more of your cards at the end of the game. So
slight mispronunciation there, Tucker. I just slightly mispronounced that, but it's okay.
So there's different just ins and outs. For you to be able to also play Scar and stuff too. It's kind of just like the newer version. This is like the list I was thinking of when I made the Thaddeus Ross list, that I knew that, Thaddeus was going to get better. And if you don't play him in Hell, you can still play him in Sauron. But yeah, we're just playing just Sauron. You don't use Shuri anymore just because the tweak to Taskmaster really just, I feel like, offset that list a lot. And Shuri is just very targeted, like very predictable. And Shang-Chi is still incredibly popular, so we don't really have any defense about Shang-Chi, but they surely can't Shang-Chi every lane, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely not. No, they can. People always figure out ways to. Yeah, this is the other place where I feel like this is going to be a nice place to see this deck type of return. This is one that people were excited about. People were saying, give us I feel like for months, you in particular, I know others have as well, been saying, give us an ongoing card that we want to hit with Sauron. And Starbrand is definitively that card.
Yes.
The question is, is he too good at this 310? Honestly, I'm excited to see. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a lot of chances I think that he isn't, but also a lot where he still, because like Sage exists in a world where like that card gets up bigger than Sauron or than Starbrand. Maybe it's fine. I could also see it being completely bust. I don't know. I'm excited. This card
should do a little bit more work for Sage, but still, you can get probably better consistency, and maybe you have to do more work for Sage, but you don't have the potential downside you have without negating the ability for Starbrand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of really. I think Starbrand's gonna be a really fun card, straight up.
Yes. Fun but boring.
Fun but boring. Yeah, that's fair. But not as fun as some of these cards come out in the future seasons of Marvel Snap.
Yeah, these cards, when Dance and I first were like, all right, Tucker, we have to get together. We have to see what these cards look like. Which going forward, I think we're gonna get into an idea of us live reacting to it, so you guys can see our initial thoughts. But we've had some more time to actually brew over what we have coming out these next couple months, and we are starting off with the cards in April. Those are the main cards that we are going to be focusing on, and we're going to go through April through May, starting off with the one and only Captain Carter as the season pass card in April.
Yeah, this is going to be really just sick start immediately to the season with the ongoing ability as a 4/3. If you're not able to be watching, if you're an audio only, ongoing, add this card's power to your back row cards here. Can't add to itself. So giving us the row option in Marvel Snap. You got your first 2 cards location, then you got the 2 ones that are behind it, closer to yourself, or for your opponent, closer to themselves, the top and bottoms of the screen. This is fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I have a sad moment here, Dance.
Yeah, hit me with it.
So Captain Carter is not quote unquote Captain America. So the shield for Sam Wilson does not work for Captain Carter.
If it did, I think this card would probably become busted. I get it. Maybe, but honestly, maybe not, because you have to play it on turn 4 and then you can only activate it on turn 5 or 6. Maybe not. I don't know. Still sad about that though.
But I do like the aspect. So like, I believe reading this text
the what?
Way, the aspect.
Oh, sorry. I just heard the first 2 letters that you said. I was like, I don't think of Captain Carter that way. That's what you said. That's what I heard.
Well,
and so
America's. But so this card, I know. So this is really interesting. Like the way that reads is like, if you buff Captain Carter, she gives that power to the back row of the cards. I wonder if that also works with Blue Marvel.
I would assume so, because it is just like, so if you have a Blue Marvel as well as Captain America on her location, yeah, it would buff those back cards. Spectrum, insane stuff, yeah.
So
this feels like a lot of fun.
Yeah, this ongoing list gets better. You guys don't have to play Doom 2099 necessarily anymore, but no, you play Doom 2099 with this, and it just gets the buffs there.
Why would you say stop it? No, you probably still,
you probably do. But with that in mind, we do have another card that affects the rows. Does not necessarily have a release date, but could potentially be like an event card for the season as well. We do have Dum Duggan. Who is
I don't know how to say the name correctly, but I'll take that as the correct pronunciation.
We have it's a 2/3, and it's ongoing. Your front row cards here have +1 power, cannot add power to itself, so it's essentially a buff you could be adding to Captain Carter if she's in your front line, and then she's a 4/4 in that sense, and that 4 power is added to the back line. So there's different ways you can do stuff there.
Hold up, let me cook. Hold up, is it? We just have these 2 cards, right? You play Captain America. Then you play Moonstone.
Okay.
Or no? Do you have to play? No. You play Captain America. Then you play what's her face? Then you play Captain Carter. Then, you got turn 5. You play your blue Marvel in another lane. Final turn. Dum Duggan and Moonstone. Same lane as that stuff. How much power are you adding to that location?
So with Dum Duggan and with Moonstone, right?
Yep.
The Moonstone copies the Duggan, so you get +2 to the front row. Plus, you get +4 with Captain America because you have Captain America and Moonstone, so that's +6 to the front row. So then Captain Carter is a 4/9. And then that's 9 power on Dum Duggan and 9. Well, so it's plus the Blue Marvel. So that's 10 power on Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And then you have
Captain Marvel. You meant Captain
Carter. Captain Carter. Yeah, you have 10 power from Captain Carter, which then puts 10 power on Dum Duggan, which also does get the additional 4 power from the Moonstone and from the Captain America. So Dum Duggan gets +14 power and becomes a 2/17. And then Moonstone gets the +10 power from Captain Marvel. And actually, no, +1, so it's +18 so it's a 2/18 for Dum Duggan because of the blue Marvel as well. And then Moonstone gets +10 from Captain Carter and then gets +2 from Captain America. So she's a 4/18, and then plus the 1 from the blue Marvel. So then she's essentially a 4/19. I think I mathed that correctly. I could have mathed it wrong, but that's just where my head went. In that one lane, you have a lot of power.
I'm excited. I was staring straight ahead the whole time. There's so much math there. So sorry if there's a lot of fun stuff. I'm stoked for this card as well. Hopefully it's the event card for the season. I'm excited. I hope they're starting to do like event cards related to the season, what kind of seems like, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Plus, talk about ongoing cards. We do have Goliath, which is another ongoing card.
I don't think you can play it probably in the same list as that. It's going to feel different. It's great with Sam Wilson. Goliath's a great card with Sam Wilson, but he is a 2/1 that has the ongoing ability +1 power for each other ongoing card you have in play. So as soon as you have Sam Wilson, by the way, on the board, he's 2/3. Throw an Ant-Man down. That's 2/5. It's 2/4. More. It's a lot. It's good.
You just play Doom 2099, and this card just grows in power too.
Oh, I was saying Thanos.
Doom 2099, both.
Oh God, stop it! Yeah, this is gonna be fun. It's a good early ramp. I feel like the turn 2 in some of these ongoing lists, other than Doom 20, other than Sam Wilson, it's kind of like a little bit of a question mark oftentimes. And so Goliath is just straight up the correct card to be using, and that's so cool.
You just don't play. I mean, so like you'd play Lizard earlier on in the game as your turn 2 quote unquote ongoing.
No, it's Ravonna.
Or Ravonna, yeah.
Because this is 2/1 and this becomes a 1. Oh, yeah. Dude, just next month's cards. The majority of them, I think, are absolutely sick. I think this next one's probably the worst card of the month, though, if I'm not mistaken.
We do have Kaori as the next card. I think it's Kaori or Kahori, whichever pronunciation of it is a 4/6 woohoo 4-cost card. We love to see it.
It's just as good as the Thing.
Yeah, just as good as the Thing. No, it's better than the Thing. Because each card in your hand, it's an on reveal, not ongoing. So what is very interesting about this card is On reveal, each card in your hand gives one of your cards in play plus 1 power. You could potentially hit the same card multiple times. It doesn't only happen, just one card individually can get hit. So it's kind of, you can play the lottery in a sense, and it can happen on reveal multiple times. But
do we actually have it confirmed that it can hit the same card multiple times? I feel like I remember the season, or like a leaked video, and it only hit different cards. I don't know.
Well, in that leaked video, it actually hit Star-Lord twice.
It did? Okay, then I just didn't remember that.
Yes.
All right, then yeah. Okay, cool.
So this is interesting. I think it's better as on reveal than ongoing, but it's still a more niche ability. Granted, if you do fill up your entire hand and you play this on like a Wong, like maybe you do some shenanigans where you snow guard into Kahori or Kaori and just get that proc kind of thing. Like it'll just be interesting. I'm just very tempted to see what happens here. But it could be on the weaker side of cards this month, just looking at what is all coming out this month, because this next card,
This is the big. This is when I saw this card was the thing. I'm like, well, this is the season pass card, right? Because it's so. This is such an insane card. Infinity Ultron, which by the way, I even said this. I actually kind of don't like the fact that we have Infinity Ultron. I feel like there are better characters to potentially do, and this is just Infinity Eyes Ultron. I know why it's a thing. It's still a cool character, but still. Anyway, it's just me being a rude about this. But anyway,
did you watch the show dance?
I did, and I stand by it still. But on reveal, add 2 of Ultron's stones to your hand. And he's really been working on becoming a human. Now he's got 2 stones. By stones, of course you know that I mean infinity stones. What else could you think I'm meaning? And we're not going to show them on screen here, but I will read through each of the different stones because each of them are 3 cost, which is very specific. They have different varying powers, though. For the reality stone has 1 power, and it says on reveal, add a drone here. Set its power to Infinity Ultrons. Then you've got the Time Stone, again 1 power. On reveal, put a card from your hand here. You've then got the Mind Stone as a 3/2 ongoing. Your on reveal abilities here happen twice, the exact same ability as Wong, but it's at a cheaper cost. As another 3/2, you've got the Power Stone on reveal, double Infinity Ultron's power. Which again, I'll just point out fun combos there potentially with the Reality Stone. Then you've got the Soul Stone as a 3/3. On reveal, for each of your full locations, give one of your cards there plus 2 power. And then the last card is a 3/4, the Space Stone. These are all Ultron versions of these Infinity Stones. Space Stone, move the lowest power enemy card here to the location of Infinity Ultron. So you basically just Ultron just is going to go for the weakest guy there. You're only going to get 2 of these stones, akin to Kate Bishop, but they're all cost 3 and he is 5. So it's meant to be like, hey, you play Infinity Ultron turn 5, turn 6, you play 2 Infinity Stones, and that's it. And is that meant to be your closer, which is kind of interesting? What do you feel about this?
So Luna Snow stonks. I mean, Wave stocks just went even further with this. I'm thinking you play this in a newer kind of Sarah Surfer kind of shell potentially. Where you also like these, you only get 2 of those 6 stones whenever you do play Infinity Ultron. But it will work with Quinjet. It'll work with Sarah. It can work with Surfer, and like them being
about Quinjet. I like that.
With them being 3 cost 2, I think it adds just a new dynamic and a new kind of archetype in a sense, right? But it's like the stones are existing kind of archetypes in the game, kind of like, which is really interesting. But I think this is another just definitive must-have card to be able to add to your collection that I think actually adds flexibility at the same exact time, where it's not like this only goes into this. It's like, well, if you get this stone, you can do this. You can do this stone, you can do that. Even if you get this stone, you still have this combo opportunity. Like, it just feels like another just really great and fun card potentially,
Yeah.
that they're adding to the game. And it feels like, when I say must have, it feels like Dan said, like a season pass card. And season pass cards, in my opinion, are must have cards. So I think it's great. And for you just to be able to only spend spotlight keys, you don't have to spend necessarily real dollars on this card, I think is really good.
Yeah, no, I think this card's gonna be really. I think it's gonna be a blast. I'm excited to see it just straight up existing and how it's gonna work. And it also does mean, right, like because you don't know which 2 stones you're getting, it's gonna change these games up. And so it's gonna be like, okay, maybe there's a time where you really want that the Mind Stone in order to be able to double the cards, or you're like, maybe there's a deck where it's like, okay, what if I just don't have any cards left in my hand, and I can use the Time Stone to forcibly play an Infinite, or it's a Soul Stone thing where like, okay, maybe this combos with Thanos and the other Infinity Stones, and I'm putting all these cards on the board, and now I've got this big fun. Like, there's so much stuff, and I'm really stoked about this card in general, and I'm excited just to see, how this is going to work, because this feels like you said with the Season Pass card, it feels different, and it doesn't feel like there's a defined best deck for it.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And I think what I also like about this, opposed to like an Agamotto, a Thanos, an Arishem, and like even a High Evo, which I consider those like as for like the must-have cards because what they do and how unique they are. Infinity Ultron doesn't add cards to your deck, so it doesn't quote unquote like diminish your draws and stuff too. Which of course like Thanos has targeted draws and his stones draw cards, and Agamotto has targeted draws. This enables you to be able to continue or just to build an entire deck the way you want to without having to be like, well, if I don't draw this, I can't do that. This makes it so like it's just dependent solely on what the card attributes to you, like a Kate Bishop, which I think even adds more value in my sense to this card.
Yeah. Oh, there can even be fun stuff there with with Isan potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think there's this card has so much possibility. I think it's legitimately like we don't know what this is going to do. And I love that. I think it's a lot more interesting when you look at the future cards Marvel Snap and you just say like, this is sick. I don't know what to do with it.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that is incredibly interesting, and I'm excited to see what we're going to be able to do with this. But moving to our next one though,
which like this is middle of the season, so you don't have to wait till the end of the season. Which like a lot of these newer cards and stuff, you have to wait till like the very end of the season to get them. But like it's cool, like since like Anti-Venom and stuff, like you kind of get to get them more in the middle. Even though Anti-Venom, of course, people didn't like him at first, but now look at it. But anywho, next card.
Yeah, Strange Supreme got a little bit buff from previous DATAMINES. I don't think we ever spoke on it, but it was a 2/0 at one point. Now is a 2/2, says gains +2 power from merging. At the end of your turn, using that keyword now, merge one of your created cards into this. So if you've got created cards at his location, he will consistently be getting that +2 power each and every turn. And as well as whatever other card you merge into him. There's a lot of... I think this is a very exciting card just in terms of, okay, like what you can do with this. I don't know. There's so much stuff there.
Yeah, no, I think this is another cool kind of dynamic kind of thing. Like it's, you could do some hand buff stuff to this card, but it wouldn't be like necessarily the same because you're hand buffing it by playing him on the board. But like anytime you merge a card with this, he gets +2 power plus, like Dan said, the power from the generated card. So transactionally, he always gets an additional like +2. And what I do really like is that this kind of pays homage to like the way he was in the show while he was trying to absorb all the magic. So I thought this is really cool. I'm interested to see what people do with this. This definitely feels more like a dance style card than my style card. But there's going to be just some cool opportunities and clips that I think people are going to be able to hit with this card.
Yeah, I will say, though, I do love the fact that they're cards that each of us can separately enjoy in different ways, because I do think if every single card is interesting to both of us, or like we want to do the same things with it, it's not interesting. So the fact that we do approach the game differently does create a lot of other fun stuff. But I think the last card of this April season is, if I'm not mistaken, the Hydra Stomper. Heck yeah, Hydra Stomper.
This is the last card for this season, and then we have another like Datamine card that kind of pertains to the current season of Snap we're in, but it has
Yeah.
no release date. But this card has been much. It's like it definitely buffed from the last iteration we saw of this. This was used to be, it's the Hydra Stomper, like Dan said. Right now it's a 3/2 ongoing +1 power for each time you moved one of your cards this game, or each time one of your cards moved this game. Originally it was +1 power for cards moved.
Each card you moved.
Yeah, you moved,
which
opposed to
was
each
weird.
time. Yeah.
Because like, okay, did I like? Is it going to count? It's to count locations. Is it only the cards that I'm actually choosing? There was so much weird stuff there. I just think it's simpler the fact that one of your cards, if it makes it so it's one of your cards actually just moving, it's great. Sam Wilson and this card, it's so good.
Sam Wilson, even just Heimdall. So like each time one of your card moves, you could potentially play this in move bounce as well, but I think you still play Vulture instead.
Oh, you're good. And you also, what is it? Madam Web loves this card as well. There's a lot of really fun synergies just inside of this card. And it has a lot of big depth. The biggest thing that's going to be annoying about this, though, Tuck, is, okay, my opponent's playing this card. I have to count how many of their cards moved.
Yes. So like it's a final
similar
turn
to
kind of
Null.
play in a sense, right? You don't necessarily
Kinda.
play this early, because if you play this early and you're moving stuff, immediately this thing just gets Shang-Chi'd.
Yeah. No, but like it goes into the thing where it's like with Null, you have to count the exact amount of power that was destroyed this game. And that doesn't even show it in the graveyards sometimes because cards return to the hand or they stay on board. It goes in like, I wish we had more data in the client where we can be like, okay, how many cards have been moved this game? How much has been destroyed? Like all this other information like that you could potentially try to figure out. Because you could do it if you counted that out and you did all this math. And I feel like that's going to create this problem with people being like, okay, wait, how much did I actually move? Wait, oh, their card was this much. How am I supposed to remember that they moved 11 cards this game? I miscounted and I thought they moved 9. I lost the game because I don't know. I like this card. I'm stoked for this card. It just makes me dislike that area of Marvel Snap, if that makes sense.
No, and I think that is completely valid. This is the power of knowledge, and that's what like Null's a great like example. Same with like Gore, but I think in this sense, because this card is cheaper and it's not a 6-drop, it makes it even harder. I think having to calculate there, and I think move bounce already right now is still really solid. Like I think move bounce with the right moves and stuff can still be get it. Can potentially scale with Hela. Of course, it just depends on like if you do get the Frigga line. I think even Phoenix Force right now would be incredible to scale against Hela. Just in the sense, like I'm just bringing up those examples, just how move players, it's already hard to account for how much power they're going to be dropping because they also dodge priority. That this card is going to attribute to even more value. I don't know necessarily what people are going to swap because move's not my specific archetype, but I do really agree in the aspect of, okay, well, I saw them move 9 cards. They just moved an additional 6 cards this turn that I didn't account for, and I lost.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like, do I have my pen and paper with me right now to be able to write down each aspect of this? But that does, like, this card is way better than what it was, and like I do attribute that like move is not the easiest deck to play for most people. So I do see this card being a problem, but not necessarily like this itself is a broken problem because still Human Torch getting to 80 power is worse than this getting to 15.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, you know how much power Human Torch is going to be because you see it. It's just, okay, what's that? ×2.
Yeah.
Or ×4. Like you just know it's going to be, it's the difference between that known information that that it tracks versus the hidden information that you've got to deal with. I don't know. That's a different conversation entirely, and maybe a different thing, a different whole YAP segment. You can talk about the hidden information, what have you. But if I'm not mistaken, that's just those are all the cards that we have confirmed.
Yes.
For this coming, some of them are also we don't know for certain about, but these are all the ones just in general for this season, right?
Yeah, this is for April. This next card, has no specific release date, but we believe it kind of pertains a little bit more to this season, the Million BC, which is Fanfei, which is a 4/7 activate. Move your other cards here to the right. So we have another targeted move card at the 4/7 cost power slot over here. Does not necessarily have a release date. Activate, another activate card. This card could also be really crazy if we're talking about move. Moving to the right is something only Aranya and Nico can do right now, and Ghost Spider. But and Winds of Watum. But
there you go. Oh wait, Winds of Watum busted. This must be busted as well. That's my logic.
I mean, just move your other cards here. It is busted. It can move 3 cards to the right opposed to just
3 cards. And on the final turn as well, right? Like that. This card actually, I think there's a lot of potential for this card. Yeah. I also have no idea if this card's actually even good.
The 4/7, we saw what Symbiote Spider-Man is, and it does. But this is a little bit different because Symbiote Spider-Man, of course, is targeted the lowest cost card here he merges with. And we were talking about move overall anyways. You know, like this here is a targeted Hercules.
Yeah, it is targeted Hercules, which isn't bad, right? Maybe even you have the Hercules at your other right lane.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm excited to see how this card fits. I don't know if it's good. I have no idea if this is a good card, Tuck. I'm still looking at this. I've got nothing here.
And that's why it has no release date, because they don't know if it's a good card yet or not. But these cards that we have potentially for May look a little bit crazy. The Season Pass card at the moment, I'm not entirely sold on yet.
You're not sold on this card?
So, like, I haven't read the text, like, or truly processed enough, so I'm hoping that you can kind of open my eyes a little bit more to this card.
Well, let me, everyone open your ears. I'll tell you what the Season Pass, according to current DATAMINES, for May is going to be in Marvel Snap. It's Esme Cuckoo, if I'm not mistaken, the pronunciation's there, whatever. Esme Cuckoo is a 3/4 who says, on reveal, copy a card from your deck into your hand. Set its cost to 3 and its power to 4. Now, we've already seen that this can be very, very powerful on something like an Anti-Venom, where it just makes that card free and then just it hits the power down. However, or makes the card free, makes it also have 0 power. Luke Cage is great with that. Then if you're talking about this card, once again, Luke Cage still exists. That's great just with Luke, right? Imagine you can bring a, let's just say a big card. Give me a Hulk, give me a Agamotto for a 3 cost. Bring that into my hand. You copy it, put it right there. Its power is 4. You've got your Luke Cage there as well. But that's not where this card is going, Tuck. This is a Mr. Negative card.
Yeah, I see the Mr. Negative, and I hadn't truly read like or processed this like I was saying earlier. I didn't realize you're also adding a copy, so you can still draw the original card.
Yep.
So you can have 2 iterations of this.
And it's a copy, which means Quinjet and Victoria Hand. I think he understands how good the card is now, chat.
Yeah, this card is going to be wild, and I think the deck building for this is going to be really cool. And I think like I still think of something like an Agent Venom to kind of have this. Like, this is good for mid-range decks, and Iron Man getting hit by this is insane. Like, that's what you thought of, like Mr. Negative, Gore getting hit by this. So, like, there's going to be a lot of really cool ways you can play this card. And a 3/4 stat line turning into another 3/4. Yeah, no, I think this is going to be really, really interesting.
And again, the copiness, the whole thing, right? Like, if for what it's worth, I'm thinking, and this is again probably copium. You got your Quinjet, your turn 1, your turn 2 Victoria Hand, turn 3 Esme, turn 4 Moon Girl.
Yeah, you can Moon Girl or Frigga.
Yeah, and the fun part about give me a 3 cost 4 power Isan.
That's what.
No, like actually, I don't hear. I'm gonna say Isan. I don't think he's doing that. I don't think he's doing that great outside of Irishim lists.
Yeah,
that's another real combo potential for Esme here.
I mean, a 3/4 Galactus sounds pretty good.
Doug, I'm saying this card's already. I think this card's sick, right? It's a really cool combo card. Do we have the combo card of the season? Is that the next one?
The combo card of the season is the next one. If you want a more consistent combo card, there's another combo card that I really like at the end of the season, but it's not going to be as consistent as Surge.
Dude, Surge is, oh my god, this is my favorite card they've shown in a bit, and I have to imagine this card's gonna get nerfed.
Sorry, Fastos.
Bro, like, why does he exist? I don't. Okay, Surge is a on reveal 2-cost 2-power card that says give the top card of your deck -1 cost and +1 power. After you play whatever that card was on top of your deck, repeat this ability. Now, Tuck, when we were actually giving, first reacting together, I told you about this.
Mm-hmm.
You put your Surge down, and guess what it hit on the top card of your deck, Tuck? It hit your Absorbing Man. So your Absorbing Man copies the Surge and already costs 3. So now now you play on turn 2 Surge, turn 3 you've played your Absorbing Man.
And 3/5 Absorbing Man, by the way.
3/5 Absorbing Man. Both of those abilities re-trigger because of Absorbing Man. So your top card of your deck now has got -2 and +2. And Tucker, I actually forgot to tell you that the next card this season was the next card in your deck. And just to give y'all a spoiler, because I know I'm jumping ahead, I don't care. Prodigy is the next card data mine for this season. As a 3/4 on reveal, if this is in the back row, copy the text of the card in front of it. Tucker, it's turn 4. Prodigy is now a 1-cost 6-power card that has the same ability as Surge, same ability as Absorb Man. You play this card, Tucker, your top card of your deck gets -3 cost +3 power. And then that card, Tucker, is Odin. I know I'm speaking this really specific line. I know. But this is this is the combo card with Surge, and Prodigy just worked with it. Prodigy has a lot more application. I know I jumped ahead a little bit there, but it.
Oh, you could even just play Grandmaster Odin at that point.
You're right. I'm so sorry. Grandmaster is actually -1 cost now, so he actually gives you energy for playing him.
Oh my gosh,
dude! Surge is busted. I have to imagine. Like, maybe we're wrong, and maybe it's actually not that great because it's not that consistent. Sure, whatever. I don't know, but like, I'm looking at this card. I'm thinking about Surge, and I'm like, how is this card not insane?
I think Surge is going to be insane. Prodigy, if you guys didn't hear through all the freaking random combo shenanigans that we just said, Prodigy is going to be a 3-cost 4-power card on reveal. If this is in the back row, so more back row kind of text lines here, copy the text of the card in front of it. So if this is in the back row, Prodigy would copy, if it's the 3rd card you played in that lane, the 1st card you played. If it's the 4th card you played, it'll copy the 2nd card you played in that row, in that lane. So this also can get crazy. This is also an incredible Onslaught Tribunal potential card too. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways. It's like an Iron
Lad.
Yes. An Iron Lad in the sense it copies the text, kind of like Mystique copies the text of an ongoing card. But the difference with Prodigy opposed to Mystique or Iron Lad is the top card you're going to play. Mystique is the last ongoing card you played. Prodigy is the card directly in front of it in its lane that has been played or that is just in that lane.
Yeah. No, Prodigy is also insane. The amount of combos with this. And also, we haven't even mentioned like a Surfers thing. Imagine you play, because you already had Sarah and you already have Wong in that lane. You put your Surfer, you put your, your Ironheart, and then you put Prodigy behind your Surfer.
Yeah, you could do that, or even like this getting with Shaw, like this behind a Shaw, you have 2 Shaws.
Yeah, that's great. Like,
yeah,
Prodigy is I'm excited for Prodigy because he just feels like the multi-tool. Like, I doesn't feel like there's going to be a bad place for him. Truly.
Well, I think this, if we're comparing the two, Surge is the epitome of a multi-tool.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then Prodigy follows suit, which is why it is in the next Spotlight week with it. But this is really interesting. It's the new X-Men for the season, I believe. And then
yes, this whole season is new X-Men stuff.
And then
It's
the
like
next
an anime
card,
vibe, I think, too.
Oh yeah, and I love the anime vibe. It's like Creative House for all
Creative
the
House Pocket, yeah.
for all the spotlights. Next we have Elixir, which this combos with another card that has been data mined, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well.
I'll let you do this one because I know you have a whole combo here as well that you really enjoy. Yeah.
Which I'll talk about this card. The other card's a couple cards down. But this right here is Elixir. It is a 1 cost, 1 power activate, which 1 cost activate cards more often than not are pretty solid from what we've seen with Aranya.
Yeah. And obviously, King Eitri's busted.
And King Eitri now is actually really good. Activate. The next time one of your cards is destroyed this turn, revive it here. And you guys know I'm a very avid Phoenix Force enjoyer. I'm going to be a very avid Firehair enjoyer. I'm a very avid Misery enjoyer. Nimrod enjoyer we'll talk about in a little bit. But this card is going to be really solid and honestly flexible in the sense where I think Order of Operation, I was thinking Killmonger things, but Order of Operation Killmonger would go off before the activate happens. So you can't do Killmonger with Elixir.
No, you can, because you just have to activate him and then play Killmonger. It would still be at the same location.
Oh, because actually, no, you're right. If you activate before Killmonger, always activate before Killmonger.
Yes.
Then you could do, as long as Elixir is not the first card destroyed, unless I guess you generate another Elixir.
I guess it would be generating another Elixir, but also it goes in the order that that your cards were played.
Yeah. So this card is going to be very interesting with a lot of those kind of style decks, I would say. Like the way Firehair can work. This, of course, isn't just, it's any card that's been destroyed. It gets revived. So you could also potentially know your opponent's going to be Shang-Chiing you, and you could preemptively activate your Elixir to get that card back on that lane, and then doing something else. So, it's just going to be really cool to just be able to combo with this. I think Misery is, of course, the main home. And Cassandra Nova is one of the best targets potentially for that. You play this in a Darkhawk style shell. But what you do is you destroy the cards while you also have Firehair on the board. And then, it just goes off and you're literally just comboing a bunch of just honor reveals and stuff. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. Also, what is it like with the Nico draw 2 mode? I feel like oftentimes you hit a card you don't really want to hit with that. And it just guarantees it will be really solid.
Yeah, this is going to be crazy. And then the next card we have is Zorn, which is one of the main cards they're focusing on this season.
Yeah, it's the card back, I think, and it's the last spotlight cache of the month, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Which is really crazy if you want to talk about, or crazy in the sense it's really interesting. I can't wait to see what people build around this card, kind of thing.
After any 3 or 4 cost card is played here, move it to another location. Does he, Tuck, I don't know how much you know about this. Is this a connection to Magneto? Because it kind of feels like that.
It's either Magneto or it's Asteroid M. Because he has which is where Magneto hides. So he's kind of, his face is shaped kind of like Asteroid M in a sense. And he's a 2/3, by the way. And it's just flat text. No on reveal, ongoing, just flat.
It is any because your opponents and your cards both count for it.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is just interesting. I don't know if it's going to be crazy, but it does feel cool, and I like it.
He's got some crazy variants too.
He's got some pretty good variants. They've got some good variants coming out for this season because especially considering it's all new X-Men, the designs are pretty dang cool. Yeah. And so Zorn is definitely one of those as well. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot less to talk about here, unfortunately. And that's not saying it's bad. It's just there is just straight up less to talk about. However, you can say that this does stop 3 and 4 cost cards of your opponents as well and your own.
It can be a targeted juggernaut in a sense, or actually give you some Red Wing value. It's going to be,
Red Wing,
which also, if you play this with the season pass card as well, I think it won't do the generated one, but you can just have some different goes. Oh yeah, because the cost is capital C. It has to be base cost. Yep. So there's just gonna be some interesting ways this could offset moonstones. It could offset like potentially just other cards that might just even add value to your opponents, which is going to be just interesting to see where the meta is at when it comes to this.
Yeah, I like the idea of just like throwing it at the middle location where like you stop even though the cards aren't as prevalent anymore, like a Miss Marvel, but you also stop a Mr. Fantastic, you stop the Moonstone, like you said. There's a lot of really cool stuff there. So this card has a lot of good potential, potentially as a weird sort of tech card as well as a combo card for yourself. So these types of cards are really interesting to me, and I love that space.
It's already a Vulture buff. Like you literally play Vulture gets +6, and then you can move back into like a Madam Web. Like there's just some really cool.
I will say this card really makes me wish that we had a 4-cost payoff for move akin to Dagger, Vulture, and Human Torch, because we just don't.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see that personally.
We do Phoenix Force though, but it becomes the
it becomes the other. Yeah.
But.
Anyway, but these are all the spotlight cards. So these are all the confirmed cards that are like actually confirmed that we have the set dates for. These next 3 cards, these are all when they happen, they happen. And we're assuming event maybe, but
maybe this is when they bring back Sanctum and we get these 3 cards.
I was gonna say, because Sanctum, Sanctum had 3 cards inside of it, and then we have 3 cards here, and it's like 2 months after. So it could be like a 2-month return. We have High Voltage coming out later this month.
Yes.
And today's about the final day of Sanctum Showdown. If you haven't done that, you got your 500 different keys or scrolls that you got to do the game 19 million times with. But so, assuming that maybe they're not doing Diner again potentially, which I know, or I guess no, that could still be for next month. So maybe this month, High Voltage. Next month, Deadpool's Diner comes back. Month after, that's when we get Sanctum Showdown, and it's going to be these next 3 cards. No idea. That's guessing.
That would be great. Also, I would love for Deadpool's Diner to give us 2 cards instead of just 1 card in a variant, but who knows?
I'm here for it. I'm down.
But these next cards, we have Kid Omega.
And there's nothing interesting here. I'm joking. I'm so sorry. I'm joking. Give us the stats. Tell us about this card.
So this card is a 2-cost, 2-power card. Activate, destroy the next card you play this turn to gain its power. So
I do like the fact I will say before you tell us the combos here, this and Elixir both say you have to do it this turn, so it's not just like a safety thing. You're like, hey, for the rest of the game, know this. No, it's like this turn. That's it.
This is a Phoenix Force enabler. Cassandra Nova with this card is also going to be really good. Of course, Kid Omega, you think of Nimrod. So you Shuri Nimrod, Kid Omega. Kid Omega destroys the Nimrod before it's like as soon as it's played. It gets that extra power. This becomes a 2/14. Your Nimrod goes to the other lanes. You also have your Elixir on the board, which regenerates another Nimrod. So in one lane, you have 2 12-power Nimrods, as well as you have a Nimrod in the middle. And you also have a 14-powered Kid Omega. And then you just kind of go crazy. But I think that's like your huge, like, end of the road, kind of like this just happened kind of thing. I just like this also as another enabler for Phoenix Force as well, because you always are snapping with a Nico draw 2. This is another just potential snap because you don't have your other destroy enablers, or just using this to buff Kid Omega is another cool card just to be able to like offset. You could even do like you play a hood onto Kid Omega just to destroy the hood, and then you can Viper Kid Omega over. Like there's just so many different lines you could use.
Yeah,
this for, which I think is pretty cool because just not having the board space is an issue like I've run into a bunch of times, but using this to kind of offset that is really cool.
Yeah, it's also again at a 2-cost slot line, which I think is really nice.
Yes,
and so with the activated ability, I think there's a lot of potential for Kid Omega. I don't know, it changed. Any sort of destroy card that feels like it could fit into a destroy archetype, I'm here for it. I'm still annoyed that the other symbiotes that we got didn't all work with it. Yes. I get why some of them didn't, but still, like, I wanted more, and I'm glad we're finally getting some more destroy pieces. Give me some more. I want this stuff. I like it. I'm here for it.
This could be like finally. I know this is like heavy copium, but
have you not heard how much I've been ingesting this whole app?
But like, Sabretooth could actually finally get some better potential value here instead of having
never mind. You are just coping.
No, this is heavy copium. I told you it is, but like you could go ahead and start your Sabretooth ramp out earlier and be able to use that power, and then you Venom your Kid Omega Sabretooth, and you can continue to just like offset that instead of having to, well, I have to play Sabretooth and then I have to do all this other stuff, which is still heavy copium because you have to play Sabretooth. But like this actually could enable just some of these other cards maybe you weren't really wanting to play a lot of, because you do get the added benefit of this card does gain that card's better. Even like Bucky. Like you could play a Bucky without a Destroy Enabler, immediately turn him into Winter Soldier, and immediately have a token for your Mockingbird, or like Uncle Ben, immediately destroy Uncle Ben. Like there's just a couple different ways I think you can mess around with this and just go crazy.
Yeah, and also what is it? Imagine you with your elixir, right? Imagine your elixir. You activate your elixir to, let's imagine you imagine you activate your elixir, activate your Kid Omega, you play your Sabretooth. Does that double your Sabretooths technically? Because it revives it here?
So since Sabretooth returns back to your hand, he never goes into the destroy pile. So you can't revive him with Kid Elixir.
Okay, got it. That's weird. Okay, fair enough.
Like how like Deadpool, you never respawn Deadpool because he just goes back into your hand.
I wonder which would take priority. I feel like
Deadpool, they immediately go back into your hand, so you're not able to get the elixir value.
Okay, well then, we'll see what happens then. I don't know how it's gonna, because then what if you destroy something else with the Deadpool or with that Sabretooth? Is that not coming back either?
So like if you
have you wasted the trigger of elixir? I just don't think we have the answer is what I'm trying to say.
No, you do waste the trigger with elixir unless it's a card that goes in. It has to go into your destroyed pile in order for elixir to work.
Okay.
So like if you had destroyed Angel would get revived. But if you destroy a Deadpool, a Wolverine, an X-23, a Sabretooth, those are cards that self-revive, so they can't be brought back because they're not in your destroy pile.
That makes sense. Okay. I'm down with that. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I'm still stoked for this card. I'm just trying to think through all this minutiae.
There's a lot.
Such.
We have so many different just things to talk about now, like Mercury.
Mercury's interesting.
So Mercury is a 2-cost, 2-powered. You can move this once. Ongoing, enemy cards here can't move.
I said this when we first saw this card, Tuck, and I'm annoyed this isn't Paste Pot Pete or the Trapster technically, because I feel like this is other than the move this once bit, I feel like that is just that card. But maybe they're saving it for like, you can't move, your cards here can't move. But I still think this is such a wild card to me.
Finally, like an official move counter. Granted, we had that with Professor X originally.
We have Scream now.
We have Scream, but like cards can still move.
Yeah. This is just a straight up no.
Yeah, it's a straight up no. I don't still necessarily think this is enough for a lot of the move stuff, but it's a good start.
I think the fact that this can move makes this card really good.
Yeah, I mean, depending you play this onto a Madam Web.
Yeah, or you play it into a lane just telling them they can't Madam Web that lane.
Yeah.
And then you move it to where the Madam Web goes.
Yeah.
Or you play it to, I think just like middle location, Heimdall no longer works just in the game. You can play it to a Sam Wilson's location or move it there, and that no longer works.
Yeah.
There's just so much of that stuff where it's just like you can play and or move it to a certain location, just shut down that answer and just be like, no.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be cool, and like to see what people do. And this says, it's a Series 4 release. This says it doesn't release until 2026. But
well, then I'm really stoked for 2026. Then sounds like a plan.
But we talking about more move cards. We do also have Helios. which is a 5/8. This card, or Helios or Helion? I said, yeah, I did it. There's no S. Helion. There's
yeah,
no
you
S,
said that. I think you said the god of the sun, if I'm not mistaken, which I think is.
I did. Not this guy.
No,
Helion.
Hellion. I thought I don't know how to say it. I knew there wasn't an S. That's the only thing I'll call you.
Helios. Don't.
But yeah, you're correct. Everything else. Sorry, I'm rude about that. Anyway, 5/8. On reveal, next turn you can move cards to this location. So a one-sided cloak.
Yeah. One-sided cloak at 5 cost.
It is 8 power.
Yes.
I don't know if this is good, Tuck. Honestly, This feels similar to Fanfei.
Yes. The difference is this can happen turn of. But I do think with this data mine also at Series 4, and I think if we look at Kid Omega also data mine at Series 4, it looks like we are going to get another Sanctum.
Yeah, in 2026.
In 2026 in January.
They are current. It says that. We're assuming it's probably not then, but still, that's technically what is assumed. Yes, but I mean, here's the thing. I feel like this is going to be another good card. It's just not insane. It's just going to be like, okay, yeah, cool. But I know people were talking about this for a bit where they're like, we want to see, and you said it before, release cards directly to Series 4. And I really like these event cards being that window to Series 4 directly. And it also makes it so that it gives them direct line from like not making the spotlight caches just worse, which would suck, I think, but making it so that it gives, for one, more value to events because you get the new card immediately. And then if you can't play in the event, you can still spend the 3K tokens as you need. So I know this is like, where was it? I know it's not technically this point, but what do you think of that aspect where they're making these new cards releasing directly to Series 4, but only from events typically? Again, Cassandra Nova, I am still shocked that she isn't, but.
So like, I like that they are adding new cards in the game that you don't have to open caches for. And I just wish it was a little bit less grindy. Granted, I do really want to give Second Dinner a lot of praise for having Twitch drops for Sanctum Showdown to really enable people to actually complete it, to at least either get a brand new Series 4, Series 5 card, or potentially get more of the Series 4 cards, as we do get Edgy Dance.
Sorry.
But I do. I do like that aspect, and I'm glad they're kind of still working towards a card acquisition system, which I still think Snap has one of the better card acquisition systems in any card game. Like, I do want to say that.
Especially with Pokemon Pocket on like their 6th or 7th pack. It's so hard to get new cards in that now. Like, you imagine jumping into Pokemon Pocket now and you're like, oh, I have to get how many cards to be able to like play all these decks? Like,
you can get duplicates too.
Yeah, you can get duplicates still.
But you have to in order to like play decks. You have to have multiple iterations of cards.
So, like, there was a thing I think we even talked about it where when we talked about like, is this acquisition system better? And I think it's different, but I think Marvel Snap, as much as I do think their card acquisition needs to be improved, it is definitively better longer term.
Yes.
And I think that I'm not saying it doesn't have its weak points. Never will I ever say that. But looking at these different, like the honeymoon period for Pokemon Pocket is over. There are going to be issues in it. I don't know how they're going to fix them or if they even care enough to fix them. But in Marvel Snap, there are still issues. But if you're going to straight up ask me, like, between these two, I do think Marvel Snap system definitively works better. And I think it's a cleaner way for the game to exist and gives you just straight up, I think, more options in terms of the cards that you can choose, especially if they go with more into these events. And even as grindy as Sanctum Showdown was, it didn't. I know everyone said that day one, but as we kind of got to the end of it, I feel like everyone just got everything they wanted.
Yeah. And
I think that's exactly what they wanted from the game mode, where, yes, you look at this insurmountable number at first, but at the end of it, you're like, oh, I spent the time they potentially thought I was going to spend in this, got everything I needed, and there was still grindy parts, because guess what? It's a free game, sure, that they take your time, and you don't spend any money, you spend time, that's how it works. but I don't even think it was an egregious amount. And maybe y'all disagree with me, but I really like the way that this felt, especially Tucker in comparison to Deadpool's Diner.
Yes, no, I agree. Something I would love for them to add to Sanctum Showdown is once you've collected some of the newer cards, the area of the shop opens up where you can get a variant of the card.
Just more variants for these new cards, straight up, yeah.
So I think that would be cool. But I am, like you said, I'm glad that they're adding other aspects for you to be able to get more cards. And I'm really excited for these next few seasons. I'm so excited for this season. I like that we're getting new types of cards. It'll be interesting to see how they all shape up against the meta. But you know what I'm even more excited for, guys? Dance is posting a lot of YouTube content, and you guys need to be consuming it. And Dance's YouTube channel info will be down in the description below. I need you guys all to subscribe to it and comment on every single one of his videos, please. Also, please follow him on Twitch as well. If you guys didn't know, Dance and I will be playing some Among Us soon because we did hit a goal on the subathon this past week to play Among Us. We also will be doing a live yap for you guys where we will be answering your guys' questions live on stream. And you guys will be able to ask that, and that'll be a lot of our topics, I feel like, for that yap. It'll be more focused on you guys because we do really appreciate all of your support there, which you guys need to be following Dance on Twitch. That Twitch info is going to be down in the description below, as well as him on Twitter and Blue Sky. I don't think I have his Blue Sky link, but it's probably going to be the exact same as his Twitter. Not my Dance on Twitter, and that's on all platforms. That is NOTMYDANCE. Not my Dance. Please follow him on all of his socials and keep up with all of his content. Absolutely fantabulous. And I said fantabulous. Content creator. But we want to say thank you guys so much for watching this edition of the Yap as well. Episode number 31. We're going crazy. That's a single episode you can listen to every single day of the month. But until the next time, we'll be live again recording again this next week talking about Fire Hair. Really pumped about that. Let us know down below. Is there any topics you guys really do want to see from us before we make our own topics? And we hope you guys have a great time with all of your spotlights and everything this week. Until the next time, it's been real, and laters.